Hi crafty friends, welcome back to Crafting with the Gringas. Today we have a new addition to our Squarie Pie series, which is going to be a Cindy Lou Who. And so for that we're going to need some yellow, or in my case I have a gold toned yarn, some skin colored yarn, some white yarn, as well as some red. I'm going to be using 2 stitch markers, some stuffing, and also some safety eyes later on in the next video, and so in part 2. All of my yarns are about the same weight. They're between a 2 and a 3. If you've got 4 weight yarns, you can do this as well. Just keep in mind that the bigger the hook and the thicker the yarn, you're going to have a bigger item. So it's not going to be small like mine. So if you want it small, you'll want to use a thinner weight. And if you want to make this bigger, you can use the same pattern and have it be just a little bit bigger, just depending on the yarn weight and the hook size that you use. If you go up yarn weight, you're going to want to make sure that you have a smaller hook, that you go down a hook size or 2. You practice and kind of check what hook size would look nice with what you're doing. So like I've got a 3 weight and I'm going to be using a 2mm hook. So keep that in mind when you're going to be doing yours if you go up a different size, because you don't want it to be something that you can't get your stitches, you can't pull your hook through your stitches, but at the same time you want it to be tight. Okay, so we're going to get started. We're going to use our red. We're going to make a slip knot. Okay, and for our Cindy Lou Who, we're going to be chaining 21. Okay, I'm here with 21 stitches. And then what we're going to do from here is we're going to put, not in this first chain from the hook, but in the second chain from the hook, we're going to make a single crochet. So we're going to insert our hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Okay, we're going to do that all the way along till we get to the end. And I will meet you back when we're at the end here. Okay, I'm here and I've just got one more chain left to single crochet into. Okay, we're going to make that single crochet, and then what we're going to do is we're going to add a stitch marker into that stitch. Okay, and now just like in the Grinch Squarie Pie, we're not going to work back and forth like up our project. We're going to work both sides at a time. And so right now what we're going to do is we're going to we're going to do a single crochet into the stitch. We're going to work up the bottom, so the other side of our chain. So we're going to turn and we're going to make a single crochet into that first stitch. And then we're going to go into the next stitch and single crochet. We'll keep single crocheting until we get to the end. So let's keep single crocheting. I will meet you back when you have all your single crochets on the bottom of your chain. Okay, I'm back to my last single crochet. See how we have the first one that we did? We've got this little chain that we left that kind of works as a turning chain, and then we've got our last single crochet to go into, and here also we're going to put a stitch marker. We're going to start our next row by single crocheting into that front loop only of our project. So we're going to leave the back loop behind. So instead of going through both loops like that, we're only going to go through the front loop. And that's going to help our stitches stay straighter for the next part when we start working into the hair and the skin tone, so that we have a straighter line. So we're going to single crochet into that first stitch, and we're going to single crochet into all of the stitches, but using the front loop only. So front loop only, each stitch is going to get a front loop only. We're going to be doing, so let's say, right here we can see our chain that kind of runs up the middle. So we've got one row here and one row here. So that's all one row. So we can see that I started right here, my second row. So we're going to go all the way around and then get back to this stitch marker. And that's going to be our first row. And then we're going to go all the way around again till we get back. So we're going to have three single crochets on this side and three single crochets on that side. So here I'm starting to have 2. I'm going to have one more. And it's going to end here. Okay, so I will meet you back when we've got our 3 rows of single crochets, so we can go from there. Okay, I'm back with my 3 rows. So I have my center, and then I've got 1, 2, 3 on this side, and 1, 2, 3 on this side. And I'm here just before I reach the stitch marker. So I'm going to put 1 single crochet into this stitch with the stitch marker, but I'm not going to finish it off. I'm going to add my hair color in, so my yellow, or in my case a golden color. And then I'm going to single crochet into the back loop only for this next round that's going to happen, because what we're going to do is make her a little collar in white, and so we're going to need to leave that front loop free. So we're going to single crochet into the back loop only for this round. Okay, if you would like, you can place your stitch marker back into that red. Eventually it's going to be clear where to make your color changes, but that's completely up to you. I'll put mine for the sake of the video. So we're just going to keep single crocheting in the back loop only until we get to our stitch marker. Okay, we're going to remove our stitch marker, and we're going to work our last stitch with our hair color. And now we're going to pass and bring in our skin color. And we're going to do the same. We're going to also go back loop only. For our skin color. And at this point, what I'm going to do is tie off my little ends. So this red and the yellow color, we're going to tie that off. And then we can tie off the yellow and the skin color. That way we don't forget later on. Remember that this round is back loop only, so we can leave this little front loop for us to work into later. Make a cute little collar for a Cindy Lou Who. Okay, now we're back to our stitch marker. We're going to work one more round of our skin color into that next stitch. We're not going to finish it off, we're going to finish it off with our hair color. So there's several ways to do this. We can pull our hair color and we can work on top. So we can pull it and then we can work on top like this of our hair color, like just pull it through. But I'm just gonna pull mine you want to make sure that it's tight but not too tight to pull. So I'm going to take my finger and pull this skin colored yarn tight while I make my first hair colored single crochet. Okay, so we're going to just keep going around in the front loop only. The whole body or head, so to speak, of our squarey pie is going to be done in the front loop only, except for this first row of the hair and the face color. That's going to be done back loop only, so that we can leave that those little stitches, the little front loop, to work into later. Okay, so I'm at the my last stitch of this round. So I am gonna pull over my skin color so I can work that through. And like I say, you're gonna want to make sure that it's tight enough, because you don't want it to be too loose, but also you don't want to be too tight to like pull your project in on itself. So kind of just line it across there like that. Make sure that you pull the skin color as well as the hair color tight to kind of lock that in place. In the front loop only. Okay, and so here we're going to do the same. I'm going to pull my hair color across. Like I say, that's if you choose to do this option. You can also go bringing it with you. Like you can go crocheting it into your project. I don't tend to do that just because sometimes you can see through a little bit, like the yarn that you're carrying with you. And so I'm just going to do it this way, but you're more than welcome. This is your project. You remember that. It's your project. You get to make it how you want. That's why we crafters like to craft, right? The stuff can be exactly how you want it. So we're going to change colors. Make sure you pull tight on both. Not too tight, but tight enough on both. And then we're going to be going into our third row. And remember that we're just going to keep going into the front loop only, because that's what that does, is make sure that our project's not shifting. And so we're going to get a straighter line right here with our color. If we go through both loops, it's going to be a little bit more slanty and it's not going to line up right there on that corner. So we're going to want to do the whole project in front loop only. Like I say, with exception to that first row of hair and body. Okay, that's the only row that we're going to do a back loop only. The rest is all going to be front loop only. If you're going to do it the way I do it and you see that it is too tight when you start doing more and more, what we can do is cut these down the middle and tie them like we tied off our first little things. We can cut them, and like let's say these two will tie together and then the next two will tie together. Okay, so that's an option. And so let's continue. We're going to continue to make single crochets, front loop only, and we'll be using whichever chosen method you have to be switching colors on each end. And I will meet you back. Okay, so we're going to have 3 rows of red, and then we're going to do 11 rows of the hair and the skin color changing. Okay, and so when we get to our 11 rows, I'll meet you back. Okay, I've got one more stitch. And then we are gonna finish off again. I did cut my strings and tie them off, so I'm gonna pull this one over for the last time, because from now on we're just gonna do single crochets but with the yellow, so we're not gonna use the skin color anymore. Okay, so we've got a few stitches we can cut off. I already tied these two, so I'm going to cut this. And now we're going to cut, since we're not going to be using our skin color anymore, we can cut that and tie those off. You can go cutting and tying on each round if you want. Like I say, you can also go crocheting over top of each strand, which is also a good option. I don't know, I've always just done it like this, so that's why I've been doing it, but it is a very viable option to crochet over your yarn. And that way you don't have the problem of it if it wants to like pull in or anything like that. We're going to do 3 rounds. So starting here is 1 round. That's the start of our round. So we're going to do 3 rounds of single crochet in the front loop only. I'm going to get rid of this because we don't need that anymore, right? We're going to be starting on top of the skin color. So we'll do a couple rows of this to give her a little bit of a bang or a little bit more hair on the top of her head, right? Okay, that's the last stitch in the first round. So I'm going to do 2 more rounds the same, just 2 more rounds. Okay, and I'll meet you back when we have those 2 rounds done. I've got my square pie ready for part 2. So I've got my 3 rows. So I've got 3 rows of red, 11 rows of skin color with hair in the back, and then I've got 3 rows of hair in the front. Okay, and so I will meet you guys back in part 2 on our next video, and we'll finish up our cute little squarey pie Cindy Lou Who, so we can have Cindy Lou Who and the Grinch. Okay, so I hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!